All right. How you doing out there, brothers? Miseducated here once again. Our next topic, very important to me. I hold it dear to my heart, and I hope it gives you some value because what I'm calling this one is fatherless fathers. All right. So obviously, my topic is on men who are fathers now who never have fathers in their life because if you're in that position, you'll know that that's a very challenging position, especially if you didn't have that guidance. And there's one thing that I've learned is you cannot be a leader if you've never witnessed leadership. All right. It's just not gonna happen unless you really just that lucky and you just been born with a talent. It's very rare. Like you're not gonna be able to be a leader if you don't have great leadership. This is something I speak from the heart. Because one thing that I have to say is I am part of a generation of men that have been raised in matriarchy, meaning if you've been raised in a matriarchy, if you've been raised by women where women had all the control in the house because you didn't have a father around, then whether you realize or not, you've been emotionally stunted and you've been not taught to be able how to survive in this world as a man because you haven't witnessed and you haven't been a part of, and even through osmosis, haven't really absorbed what it takes to be a man in this world. So if you're struggling in life, trust me, this is the reason why. All right. So if you've been raised in a gynocracy, then, and I got this rest in peace from the great KS, but you've been raised on sign language, meaning you've been raised on if you've ever done something wrong, you weren't raised to how to do it right. What you were raised on is being shamed for it, being insulted for it, being guilted on it, and again, the need to be right. Sign language, SIGN. Look it up. Respect to KS. I bring it back because it's still alive and well. It's still real. And if you've been raised on it, then what you've been subjected to is a long history of thinking that this is how life is, where somebody doesn't help you to figure out solutions. They just shame you to make you feel bad, hoping that you'll never do it again or whatever have you, when that is not the right result because you're not given a clear path to success. All it does is bring you down and make you feel like a lesser human being, which is what it's originally designed to do. You don't need that in your world. You don't need that in your mind. And if you're still living like that, then it's time to wake up and try to do anything you can to change that because it will hinder your progress in life. Trust me, I know. Now, another thing is if you're raised in a gynocracy, you usually have emotional decisions over structured influence, meaning you're not taught to manage your emotions and think and process what's happening because the first thing you feel is what you react on. And if you're a man, that is a recipe for disaster. Cannot be successful making emotional decisions. You have to learn to suppress that because men are judged by how they handle situations. We're the builders, we're the leaders. And if you want to be seen as a leader, you have to carry yourself like one. And once again, if you've never seen leadership, it's hard to mimic something you've never seen or witnessed before. It's challenging, but hey, thank God we live in a YouTube generation where all this info is right at your fingertips. There have been generations of men who have lived and died without knowing this information, so at least all it takes is a click of your button. And as Bob Marley said, well, I can't remember the Bob Marley quote right now. I'll go. An abundance of water, the fool is thirsty. There we go. You have an abundance of water with this YouTube. If you decide to still be ignorant, that's on you at this point in this generation. Now, as I continue on, we're taught to stay like again, this is another thing that I've noticed is that if you've been raised without manhood in your life, then you're part of the son husband epidemic, most likely, meaning that your mother will influence you to be taking care of her since there is no husband in the house and she wants male companionship. She's going to use her son or sons to fill that void and hinder their growth. As crazy as it sounds, it's psychology. Look it up. I'm not here to BS you. And unless you're able to structure yourself to get up out of that, it will hinder your growth and your progress. So the earlier you can detect it, better. Another thing is we're taught to stay inside when we really should be outside. Men are not in house. We are hunters and gatherers, and women don't move like that for the most part. So another thing about being a son husband is they'll keep their child inside, watching a lot of TV with them, eating cupcakes and cookies with them and ice cream with them when they're feeling depressed, hindering them from trying to get healthy, hindering them from doing things that will develop a boy into a man just because they don't have somebody and they're going to use you as their companion. Again, this is hindering your growth and progress to being a man. That is not how men move, and any successful man that you know that stays successful do not move like that. So that also leads into being taught to be submissive. When men naturally thrive on aggression, and I don't mean aggression like you have to be, you know, knocking everybody out anytime you feel threatened or whatever have you. But men, if we move meek, we don't win. I don't care what your mother, your auntie, whoever told you. Being moving meek and moving submissive is not how men should move. But that is how women should move. Because women should not be aggressive in the street. They're not physically the strongest sex. It doesn't make sense. If you move where the woman is the aggressor and you're the meek one, unfortunately, I gotta break it to you, but you're the bitch in the relationship. All right? I hate to break the news to you, but hey, I ain't get on here to lie to you, right? So now another thing with that is we're raised to take care of our mothers instead of take care of ourselves. Because once again, as a man, you're supposed to lead a leader, meaning that as a boy from a man, you should be going through the steps to learn how to take care of yourself and in turn your own family and in turn also your own community. Not saying women don't have a part in this, but what I am saying is men are usually naturally leaders because that's just how productive men move. They don't care about just themselves, they try to build up their society. And if you're taught to be, if you're taught not to take care of yourself, there's no way you can take care of any family or community. It starts with you. If you keep teaching your children to take care of the mother, take care of the auntie, take care of the sister, whatever have you, before taking care of themselves, they're gonna spread themselves thin. They're gonna break under the pressure, and what happens? They're just gonna move on to find another man to take care of. It's a destructive cycle, and to end, you lose. It's not worth it. Don't do it. Moving on. Now, another thing with men is who oh gosh. Now, next thing is usually tend to lack leadership skills when we don't have male influence. And what happens with that is we're exposed to a lot more female aggression than male aggression. And men without fathers who tend to use female aggression, not respected by real men. Because what happens is they tend to use passive aggressive tactics instead of natural or physically aggressive tactics, which are more masculine. I'm gonna tell you now, if you passive aggressive as a man, you are a feminine dude. I repeat, if you are a passive aggressive man, you are a feminine dude. Real men confront their problems. Real men stand up to it. And no secret feelings. If I don't like you, don't gotta be no fight, but men know conflict is a part of life. If you run from conflict, you're not a man. That's how it's been. You study history, study westerns, all that. The man confronts you. That's what men do. They don't talk behind your back. If they don't like you, they're gonna see you, and they're gonna talk it out. And if they take it there, they take it there. Again, it's not nice, but guess what? This world ain't nice. Time to man up and realize being a man means taking risks. And sometimes you get called out. Again, I'm not saying don't be smart, but also know being a punk is a death sentence socially. So just keep that in mind. Now, the other thing is, and this has come from my personal life because I remember my daughter was 4 years old, took her to the park, used to worry about her getting injured, falling, that kind of stuff. So, kind of hovered over her for the first few times. By the third time I took my daughter to the park, I realized I don't got to follow her around and do nothing. All I got to do is sit back. And if she needs me, she can call me because she had that park thing figured out. Not only that, what I used to witness is if there was a boy in the park with a skateboard or a bike, whatever, my daughter wanted it, she would go say whatever, whatever to that boy, and next thing you know, my daughter had that bike or skateboard or whatever, and I'm just sitting here like it was epiphany to me. I realized that girls, women, whatever, realize that they can get anything from a boy or man or whatever from that early an age. Because it wasn't malicious. My daughter ain't, you know, no Jezebel in the making nothing. It's just that my daughter was able to get from boys whatever she wanted at that age. So it taught me if females could recognize how to get things from boys, from males, whatever, at that early an age, I could only imagine how much training they've had on how to manipulate men through their lives. Open my eyes up. If you got daughters out here, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't, it's time to open up your eyes because it's real out there. That's when I first realized that girls have been training and studying how to manipulate boys and men from as, as early as 4 years old from my study. So to me, it's real out there. Y'all need to be aware of this. And moving on, even the Bible, which I'm not that religious, but I do study religion. And one of the things that I have studied in the Bible is even the Bible states that a woman is not supposed to have leadership over a man. That's in the Bible. That goes to show you how long in the history is that women should not have rule over a man if that man wants to be successful. It's like even when it comes to history, there's tribes in Africa. When you were like 12, 13 years old, I can't remember the age. I know that when they felt like you was a boy to become a man, they would take the boys out the house, away from the mothers, where they could influence them to be little punks and would take them out to kill lions, to get circumcised and all kind of stuff before they could come back and call himself a man or the next leader or whatever have you. Long story short, men had to go through rituals. We had to be challenged. We had to push boundaries. And it had to be done by men in order for us to be able to lead the next tribe and grow to be strong leaders. That does not exist in these days and times. And the boys and the men suffer for it. That is something that needs change. That's how I feel. Because at the end of the day, nowadays, manhood is under attack. We all know this. And it's one of those things that we need to preserve by any means necessary. Being a man is natural. It's no greater gift than being a man in the sense that you get to shape your destiny, you get to shape your world. And too many men have suffered and fallen under bad leadership. Time for it to stop, especially if you're a father, because you're a chosen leader. God chose you to be a leader, or else He wouldn't have given you children. It's time for us to stand up, make a change, and be better for the world, y'all. Miseducated here. Talk to you soon. Peace.